talking about that. I asked her, they do the Ava, my daughter, she said today, Mom, get some quilting.
Some of them are like that.
And you know, one of those t-shirt ones.
Yeah, you and everybody else struggled with that. It wasn't.
So I got 2 years, but I haven't seen her t-shirts. Her t-shirts.
Well, that's what made me feel better when I realized what this means. No.
And I mean, it's just
How they quilt goes.
but that was the fun thing they said.
Really?
Name change on this place. Just
This is Dave Hahn's quilt.
Oh. It is.
It was made for his wife's 60th birthday.
Oh yeah, I see Diane right there.
Yeah. These are Bernie Federico's ties. 24. He sent me 24. Yeah. This is just fabric, but the outline are his ties.
This too?
Yeah. And if there was a label, they got a label.
No, you're good. Not everybody's here yet. We'll start in about 2 minutes, okay? John was picking up the books coming on in.
It's driving me crazy because it's like,
Is that okay?
sure.
Somebody else is bringing it home from the nursery.
I'm pulling it away from there. Her kids are over to
She's just doing
Hey, Jen, tell her to come in.
She's gonna go do her ashes real quick, but she's gonna come in. She said she might be a little late.
Do you want me to move this chair for her?
No, you're okay. Right now, I'll move a few.
I put one chair out in the hall.
Whatever you have to do, no biggie. I'll move it so that.
Then to your mouth. I thought about you. I think to
Whatever.
Oh, you just, and then you got
It's okay.
it's a little tender. Oh, you hit that bruise.
Always.
Yeah, it's just especially if you're right-handed.
Well, it interferes with your work.
That's right.
Stitching. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
But they got it all on my first try, so that was.
Oh, so you didn't have to spend the day.
It's probably going to hurt more. Frosted.
I'm not in any
Three
hurry.
strips. That's why it's six kids.
But you're a pretty good driver.
I had 6 kids. I didn't have leggings. Time to do all that stitching. So when I finally finished it, I said to my husband, there was each church in the had some ladies that did it. So they said they would do it, furnish the fabric, the batting, everything for $100. I mean, cheap, but it was beautiful. So anyway, I said to my husband, I'll go ahead and set up a frame in the dining room and do it myself.
Ready, put it all together, and about 4 months ago, and I got stopped, and it came there. Yeah! I gotta get this.
This is just gorgeous. And I live in a little country, south of Potosi. I mean, country. And I was sitting here. I mean, I just was sitting here. And that's where the family started.
Is it blue?
Yeah. We started at Quilt.
It's like a quilt.
And everything else to do.
Well, I didn't, but because I'm not an outside person.
I first and foremost want to thank David Hans for bringing these beautiful ladies to us today. So let's welcome these ladies in for their beautiful quilts.
Some of these quilts belong to other people. I don't have enough air, sorry. And they lent them to us to bring. So you could see that our guild, 250 members, huge, huge, does all kinds of quilts. This was made by a group called the A-Team, and that's our raffle quilt. On the 15th and 16th of March, we have a quilt show at Queeny Park. We're every other year. So 2 years from now, we'll be doing this again. And you can get raffle tickets there. And let me tell you, I weighed that puppy. Weighs over 11 pounds.
Beautiful.
So it would definitely keep you warm, especially today. Yeah. And then we're each going to talk about the items we brought. I'm sorry. I have a lung issue, and this weather is just bad. Our guild, like I said, 250 members. We have many, many subgroups. And we have art quilters, block exchange groups, round robin groups, and we have groups that meet in people's homes, because some people do counted cross stitch. Wait a minute. Hang on. You gotta back up. No, you can't back up. Hang on. There you go. And I need to introduce Dave Hans.
Yes.
If you don't know him, you need to. His wife and I worked together. And so this is actually her quilt. This was her birthday quilt. So it's going to be in the show.
What is a birthday quilt?
Yes.
It's anything you want it to be. This actually was my granddaughter's birthday quilt.
So you get it for your birthday?
It was when she was born.
Oh.
She got it for her 10th birthday.
Yeah.
I'm a big procrastinator. And this was a surprise party given for Diane by her family. And these are silk ties that came from Bernie Federico.
Yes.
And there's a huge story with that, but I'm not going to bore you right now. And so I cut it up and made this for her. And this fabric, called sashing, most people don't believe me. But honest to goodness, I was walking down Jackman's one day, down their aisles. This bolt of fabric fell out of the... and I said, yes, that's it. That's that one. And like I just explained, this was my granddaughter's. She's now like 30. And it lives at my house.
Take care of it.
And also at the quilt show, I'm in a paper piecing group.
Katie, you want me to help you hold that up?
I was gonna say I can't.
Yeah, that might be a better idea.
We're all gonna have to go and do
When
this.
clip things don't want to hold. Hang on. This isn't finished. It will be within a few days. Trust me.
You notice
It's
the
gonna be
safety
in the
pins
quilt
on
show.
it, that holds it together. What does?
Yeah.
Safety pins. The safety pins are all over this, and that's what holds the 3 layers, the front, the batting, and the backing together so that she can quilt them.
Yeah, you want to show them the backing?
Oh, tell us about the back.
This particular pattern is called My Kind of Town.
For the front.
Yeah, for the front. That's a house dress my mom always wore. She's been dead 20-some years now. So I thought, perfect for the back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you did a beautiful job on this because look at the different, each house is different.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is all silk. Everything on here is a silk tie, was a silk tie. I collect men's ties. So. These, you all know Route 66.
Yes.
Right, everybody's familiar with it. So we had, I guess, a challenge or something to make something along Route 66. And had to be certain size, real strict rules. I got mine back twice. And I did the donut shop on Chippewa, Watson,
Oh, yeah.
if you know where that all comes together.
And it says back here, serving the finest donuts, finest coffee and donuts.
Yeah. And
Mine was the Gemini Giant. He's in Wilmington, Illinois. He advertised a restaurant from like the 1920s. They've gone out of business, but he's just stood there advertising this restaurant called the Lunching Pad.
Let's see the back.
I went to the donut shop with my dad as a kid.
What was interesting is that everybody's had to be in a different location.
Good point, these
There
things.
could be no duplicates. And how many did they end up with?
66. And they've been accepted into the national, this is the year of,
The anniversary.
the anniversary, thank you. And the quilts have been accepted into the historical group. It's spelled out by the Route 66. And there's like a really long wording that they get to use to promote this now. And I'm hoping it'll be displayed in the national parks.
Oh,
Yeah.
I belong to an art group, and I took a photograph of some flowers, and I made log cabins, and this is called Sisterly Love because my sister quilted it. This is going to be in the quilt show, along with the other challenges where they did. It's called the Wonky Log Cabin.
Yeah.
do you just do hand quilting or machine quilting?
I prefer machine quilting. Well, hand quilting, I'm not very good at machine quilting, but my sister did this. She lives in California, and she does a lot of artistic stuff that I don't do. So I sent her this, and she quilted it.
You want to tell them about this?
I don't know anything about it.
Wendy Richards.
Wendy Richards made this.
Wendy Richards is, she's very active in the group. She's the one that coordinated Route 66. She sent this as an example of a modern quilt. She sent over 2 examples, but this is one example. She didn't say what the name. It's called A Steady in Orange and Gray. And she machine quilted it, and she pieced it.
I think the fascinating thing about this one is not just the colors, but the quilting, because it really emphasizes all of the different
Round,
designs. Yes. Yeah.
the up and down.
Is hers the yellow one?
Oh, it's all one. Okay.
And then this is one from Wendy too.
Wendy likes to do more modern things. and she's very creative. And this is a wonderful use of color.
It is, yeah.
Color and design, and you know, it looks very simple, but when you stop and think about how you combine not only the colors but all of the designs to make it look really cohesive, it takes a lot of skill. I think.
Get all your points right. Yeah, that's good.
Can I introduce Tamara and Chris?
I'm Tamara.
I'm Chris. We're the shy ones. I think that's funny.
Show the back of that. Show the
Yeah, we
back.
want to see the back.
There are many shy people here.
Oh, butterflies.
Those are
Little critters.
little critters. Yeah.
Wonder where they found that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
What a beautiful fabric.
You got more? My turn? I'm gonna go sit down. Well, I'm going to take you on a tour of a quilter that started in, I moved to St. Louis in 1983. And I did my very first quilt, which was a Dresden plate. And it was beautiful, and I hand quilted it, and it has been used and abused, and it is in shreds. And people will say, oh, but I tell you what, it's been loved. So if it lasts, it's an heirloom. Then I learned about rotary cutters. And I just happened to, when I first moved here, found a cross-stitch place. And they handed out a block, or a design of the month, which was the Missouri puzzle. And I kept looking at it and thinking, that would make a beautiful quilt. That would make a beautiful quilt. But there was no way in the world that I was going to do 1-inch squares. Then I learned about strip piecing. And so this cross stitch became a quilt. So the cross stitch I still haven't finished. It's about this big. But I grafted out and I mated it.
Beautiful.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah, it was. But this one is machine quilted. My very first free motion quilting. So and it's old and thin. Then I was working with a guy named Jerry Bayer, and he had a Girl Scout camp, or girls camp, and he had all of these wonderful plaid shirts, and he was going to get rid of them, and I said, oh, can I have them? He said, sure. So this pattern is a bear's paw,
Yeah, the bear paw.
and I call it Mr. Bear's paw. So that's how that got it.
That's cute.
I like how you did your edging.
The border?
Yeah, the border.
Yeah.
That was
That
just-
goes with the bear's claw.
Yes.
Yeah,
The tips of each
So-
very artistic.
Then I started on more, there was another cross stitch that I found that I liked, and so I mimicked that in this one. And this is the one my grandkids fight over when they come. I want to sleep under that one, Grandma. You got it?
Oh,
It's upside down, so.
They like the apples.
The apples with the leaves. And this one,
Oh, I like that.
yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was, didn't completely duplicate the pattern that were
No.
cross stitch, but it was fun.
And it looks like you've done arrows.
Yeah, I did. Well, I did flying geese until I ran out of fabric, and I thought, well, what am I going to do next?
That's clever.
So, you know, they have to start going south.
See, the flying geese don't go
Yeah.
all the way around. Oh, I see this angle.
So, then, is it this one? Yeah. I had not done any applique, any wool, and I decided to try this, and I found this pattern. It's from a different box of crayons that store that's in Paducah, or in Illinois. And these are all little wool
It looks like a
blocks.
fall.
Some of the fabrics are satin, or satin. Some of them are
You're fine.
wool. Somebody asked me,
Fashionably late.
what is this? And I said, this is my reason for living for the next 10 years, so I can get this all done. So it was fun to do.
Just real quick, excuse me. Do you make a Notre Dame?
What?
Notre Dame? Like at Notre Dame?
No. I went to
I want you to
Houston,
see this. Take those.
and they had
At
a
Queeny.
class, this guy is, what's his name? Fields, John Fields. And he had, this was much more contemporary, and I fell in love with it. And I didn't finish it, and I have to tell you, I am geometrically challenged. And he stood there right with me, and he said, here, I'll help you take those stitches out, because I made more mistakes. So yeah, I am geometrically challenged, I have to admit, but finally got it together.
Somebody told me when you learn to quilt, get a good ripper, because you're gonna need it.
Yeah.
And you better like to rip as much as you like to quilt.
Is that gorgeous?
This one is, I used this for a teaching class. I had started a group called Beginner's Luck, and I said, if you want to learn something, this is a good quilt to learn with, because it had a lot of different blocks and it had a lot of different challenges to it. And it has become officially the damn quilt. Because every little block, every little thing has something different and something new, and so that's how I got that name. But I had enough fabric left over. I played with it.
Oh, my heavens. What a good idea.
Yeah. So,
I never would have thought of that.
Can we buy any of these?
not for me.
There will be quilts that are for sale at the quilt show. They'll be marked on the individual quilt, and then you have to work with the quilt maker to purchase it.
But that, you can buy raffle tickets.
I really like this one. It's just a little more traditional.
Oh, that's incredible. Oh, my gosh, you must have a king bed.
How long did it take you
It's
to do
queen
that?
size, I think.
Queen.
Huh?
I think this is queen size.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, though,
If
you
you
know,
do
I
it.
like to have fun with
How long
that.
did it take her, did she say?
Yeah, once again, I like to have fun with that. You know, you just use whatever you've got left. And not enough to make a pillowcase with or anything, so let's
We
use
have a
that.
lot of shows here.
And you can really see
The quilting.
the
on this one.
quilting.
Yeah. And this is that machine.
How do you clean something?
How long did it take you to do that?
You know, it takes what it takes. Sometimes, well, you start, you stop, you work on
I know.
something else, and, you know, probably a couple of months, just off and on. So this one is not quilted. And, but I thought you would like to see, before and after. That's before. This is the top, and it's not been quilted yet. Got that?
Yeah.
Isn't that fun? And I think I'm going to stabilize these blocks, and then I'll put something in the diamonds there. So you can see what the back of the quilt
How
looks
long
like.
did it take you to put one together?
This one has been challenging, and it was off and on for probably 6 months. And the reason for that was because of all the different blocks, this particular quilt called for the diamond to be in a light one, and then the next vertical row, and I think we've got it going the wrong direction. Let's see. It just,
Oh, yeah.
I had to pick fabrics. What works, what doesn't, which one do I like with that, where will it go, and then you finish them up. And then, how do I put these blocks together? Which one do I put where? So I put them, and I take a picture of, put them on bed, take a picture of them, take the picture and make it black and white. That tells me where I've got too many darks and too many lights together.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then I call my husband in because he's got a really good eye for color. And he will say, nope, that one goes over there, or those two are too much alike, or whatever. So, he's, so, there you go.
Quilt Show is going to have what's called a bed turning, and that's antique quilts from the 1970s on. This is called a yo-yo quilt. Yeah, they're going to the 1970s.
That was my grandmother's favorite to do.
The yo-yo?
The yo-yo.
Yeah, this I got as a gift for.
The yo-yo.
I made my girlfriend 2 quilts, and this was a gift that she gave me. It was
That's a lot of work.
it was evaluated as being from the 1940s
Oh, wow. Oh, she
A
gave me
lot of work.
as a gift. Yeah.
What do you call those?
Yo-yos. You take a piece of cardboard and you wrap this around it, and you sew it, and then you stitch it together. I would never do it. It would be too time consuming.
It is.
So is there no
Well, you know that
backing?
because you're working on one.
I've been working on repairing one.
But there's going to be about 15 quilts in the bed turning.
So, do you know what a bed turning is?
No.
Well, we have a pretend bed, okay, and we have all these quilts laying on it. And there is, somebody is talking about each quilt, and with each quilt, they'll hold it up, and after they're done talking about it, you'll fold it over, sort of turn it. And so they'll go through a stack of 15 or 20 quilts and tell you all about them. Most of these are from the 70s or before. It's fun to see. It's fun to see the difference.
Yeah, that's the 70s or before. It's not 70s to the 2000s. I misspoke that.
Well,
Yeah, it's before the 1970s.
yeah.
How are the yo-yos attached to each other? There's no backing on that, is there?
No, they're whip stitched together.
In 4 places?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except on the edge.
Yeah. It's pretty, yeah.
They're delicate. They don't look it, but you're so afraid you're going to put your finger through it.
Put your toes through it, you wouldn't use it.
That's a lot of work.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's not the one you put on the kid's bed and bite the dog on.
Cardboard in there?
I did
No.
since you said put the dog on it, I did a wedding quilt for my granddaughter. And the story, I'll kind of shorten it. They text their parents on Friday night, we're gonna get married at the courthouse Monday. Come if you want. You know.
Yeah.
That's how they do it. So I made her a wedding quilt called Liberated
Something.
wedding ring. They were all straight. And when I gave it to her, I said, keep your dogs off it. She said, okay, Mom, Grandma. And right before this was in September, so the second Christmas, she said, Grandma, I got a problem. I said, what's your problem?
Dog was on the
She
floor.
said dog ate a hole. Ate the hole. That big. And I thought, do I totally repair this like nothing happened?
And I went to Jackman's and the gal there said, nope. You make 2 patches, put a little batting in there, and you sew it on there. And I did that, and I put, I love my dog. So, you know, even new quilts get bad.
Questions? Are there any quilts you want to see again? Yes.
Can you tell me how long it took to make that beautiful quilt that's hanging up there?
That was at least a year-long project. It was done by a group, okay, and each member of the group, I think, took one of the triangles that they appliqued on. And then it was assembled and quilted, and it was, I think, at least a year-long project. Because they would meet about once a month.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason that is so heavy, because the lady who quilted was one who helped make it. She has wool batting in there, and she has cotton batting in there, because it makes the quilting show up much prettier.
Wow. So it's, if
Somebody
you're
asked,
allergic,
how do you wash them?
if you're allergic to wool.
How do you clean them? Carefully. Some of the little quilts and the ones you make for kids, you can throw the washer and throw in the dryer. At least a lot of mine were. But if it's a really big quilt, don't dry clean it. You put it in a bathtub and you let it soak, and then you, they'll think it's not mine. And then you swish it around, and then you rinse it carefully, and then you rinse it a lot. Okay. And then you put a sheet under it so that you are not, and you get as much water out as you can. You put a sheet under it so that you're not just lifting the quilt. And then you lift it out of the bathtub. Still try to get as much water out as you can, and you lay them out on the floor. At least that's what I do.
I never wash them.
I've washed one. Lay them on the floor and kind of try to square it up, and I put fans on and just let them blow. But you try, if you try not to have to do that. So
Do you pre-wash the fabric before you make the quilt?
sometimes, depends. It depends, and it depends on the maker. And sometimes, generally, I have done that, but I have also not done it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Have you heard of UFOs?
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Okay,
We
I was gonna say you need.
one of the ladies in the guild,
That's what this is a UFO.
you sign up
Right.
for your projects, and as you finish them, you earn points. And periodically you get, it used to be money.
Well, that you win a prize, yeah.
Yeah,
usually,
you win a prize now. And, but it gets you going,
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So,
so.
Does every lady
She had,
every lady do it?
go ahead.
I'm looking for a quilt for my daughter. She just got married. And we order anything from you?
Not for me.
Okay,
There are some people that do custom work. I sometimes do, but I can be really slow.
well, I'm not real picky, you know, and I don't need it till next Christmas. But, if you know anybody I could call
We can put a note.
We'll
in
put a
the-
note out in the guild. It may,
Okay.
I mean, you may not get a quick response, but, you know, if somebody is available to do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
and
give us
quilts-
your name and, so we can contact you.
Yeah, take that piece of paper, Tamara. Here's my
I'd just
pen.
like to say that you ladies are truly artists. I mean, you are artists.
really an art.
It's
I gave it up.
Of course it is, that's why you do it.
You have to have good eyes to do
If you were
this.
to sell that quilt, what would you sell?
That one, I don't know if they've had it appraised, but probably at least
I don't think they did. At least, quilts are very expensive. Yeah. Because it takes a lot of time.
Oh,
Thank you.
could you tell them about David Hahn's wife's quilt for the late
They just
people
came
that
in.
came in?
Just a little recap.
David has a story.
Well, David is up there in the
Yeah.
corner, maybe.
Yeah, he's still here.
Come on down, David Hans.
Yeah. David's wife, Diane, and I
She's
worked together for St. Anthony's Hospice. Diane was a bereavement person and decided to do a camp for kids that have lost a loved one.
Just a little.
And I think we did it for 4 or 5 years. And every year we had special guests come.
Perfect. Perfect.
And one year, our guest was Bernie Federko.
Oh,
And I was collecting ties like crazy then. And, you know, I have a mouth, I don't keep it shut. I said, you know, you got any ties? Send them to me. So one day I got a box in the UPS with his return address and everybody went, what is that? So I opened it, there were 24 ties in there, which I later was told that was his number when he played for the Blues.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea.
I looked him up.
But the little cotton piece in the center was, her family gave her a surprise birthday party one year. And I took fabric so they could write on it for her, because what am I gonna do with these ties? To me, they belong to Diane. So when I got them, I cut the ties up and you'll see labels on them. And that means that tie was a Jerry Garcia tie, which to me, very collectible. I have a lot of them. And so.
what did family members write what's said in the middle of each square?
They write what they wanted on
Oh, that's wonderful.
it. In fact, Dave, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna go over this one.
Sure.
Because it's faded so badly.
They do fade.
And, you know.
Yep, that was a very special quilt. Diane loved that. And I forgot that it was actually up in my closet after Diane died 2 years ago now. But Gay called and said, Dave, do you have that quilt? Because she wanted to take it to the show coming up in a couple of weeks.
Diane had a fainting couch.
Yeah.
And I always saw it hanging on
it was out.
end of the couch.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
so that's how this all came about was
Yeah.
Gay came out to Mason Point to pick up that quilt, and we were walking around, and I know we showed Judy, we saw her out in the lobby and stuff, and then a number of people said, well, if that show's coming up in a couple of weeks, why don't you come and talk to us, because we know there's a bunch of quilters, would-be quilters here. So,
And you do still have a group that quilts, is that right?
Not here, really.
Oh,
No.
okay.
We have one at our church.
Oh, okay.
They have a hook and needle area. You don't quilt though, but they do for everything else.
If they had a little space, they probably quilt.
Yeah.
Is there a preference for hand quilting to machine quilting? Just your own personal preference?
I'm sorry.
Is there a personal preference for hand quilting or machine quilting? Or is one more
To
popular?
me, it depends on how it's gonna be used.
Oh.
If it's gonna be used a lot and, you know, manhandled, machine quilt it. But if you've spent a lot of time on something and you wanna be old-fashioned, I like hand quilting.
Yeah.
I'm finishing a quilt for my bed, and I want it hand quilted. And quilting is expensive. You take the area of the quilt and multiply that by 2 or 3 cents a square inch. And even machine quilting is at least that. And then if you want it custom, it's more than that. So,
Big investment.
It is a big investment, but you know, we do it a little bit at a time. So you might go out and spend $50 on fabric, and then you go and you spend 10 or 12, and then 10 or 12. And then there's the
yeah.
and then there's the backing, and sometimes the backing is leftovers. Okay, sometimes the backing is your mother's dress. And, you know, whatever you want to put in. It doesn't have to match the front. Yes.
So do you all have those big quilting frames in your house someplace, in a basement, in a dining room, or? I remember my aunt had a room.
Many of us quilt by checkbook.
What?
Well, I actually have 3 frames.
Yeah.
I haven't used them in.
Yeah. There are long
Probably.
arm quilters.
Yeah.
Okay, who have a frame that might be 6, 8 feet wide.
No, I'm talking about hand quilting.
I have one that my great-grandfather made for my mother out of walnut. I have not brought it down.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do
Yeah.
some of you have those big frames?
I do have
Big-
one. I don't know that a lot of people have a.
2.
You did.
And then when my girlfriend died a few years ago, her family gave me hers. And they're big.
I know.
And it's hard to do a frame quilt like that by yourself to get it in the frame.
Yeah.
So most of you do these by yourselves? You don't have a group of 4 that you meet together once a week or something like that?
The groups that get together work on the tops. Gay and I belong to a paper piecing group, and we meet. Well, we met on Zoom once a week, but we would meet once a month at the firehouse station in Manchester, and we would work on the tops. But we didn't work on quilting the
No,
quilts.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And,
we still do the quilting.
You still do the quilting?
yeah, I got into paper piecing.
Quilt, it didn't go, I mean, it's 600 or more.
I think 600 would be just for a lap quilt. Okay, or a large lap. Depending on the fabric, depending on how heavily you want it
So
quilted.
a bed would be $1,000 probably, or more.
Yeah,
Yeah. When,
but you do it like an elephant. You eat one little bite at a time.
I know we all have excellent memories. Do you mark your quilts on the back or any type of identification? Just because they'll probably be handed
Chris
down.
does, and anything that goes in the quilt show
Has to be.
will have to have a label on it.
Yeah, right. Well, that way we don't forget, it's 10,
Yeah.
20 years down there.
No, you take a picture of it and you put a label on it for,
Yes.
for the quilt show, and the labels can be very, very simple, or they can be pretty complex. But,
And, I'm so technically challenged, it's really bad. But during COVID, this guild was the first guild, I guess it was Linda, the paper piecing person, learned how to Zoom.
and Zooming has been a blessing.
That saved my life.
Yeah.
And I'm forever grateful to Linda. And this was a project many of the people in the paper piecing group did. And you'll see them if you come to the quilt show.
Every one of them
You'll
is
see a
different.
whole bunch of them together. And,
Every one of them is
I forgot
different.
what mine's called. My kind of quilted towel is what I named it.
Show them your mother's dress again for the latecomers.
That's my mother's dress on the back.
That was her mother's.
House dress.
I think that's fun.
Wish I, what am I gonna do with this every time I saw it and I thought,
Yeah.
house dress, house quilt, perfect. Yeah, and it will be finished, I promise.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
In answer to your question about hand quilting versus machine quilting, I belong to a quilt club, and out of all of us, there were only 2 of us that hand quilted. Everybody else machine quilted.
The best thing about our Bits and Pieces quilt group is it is over 200 members easily. And what I love about it is that there's room for everybody. We have hand quilters, we have hand piecers, we have applique people, we have machine applique people, we have people who work with wool, we have modern quilters, we have traditional quilters, and everybody is welcome. And that's the best part of it.
And where do you meet?
We meet at the Manchester Methodist Church. Salem Methodist Church, on Manchester down by Lowe's.
Yeah.
Or across from Applebee's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Salem.
Yeah. And they're very, very, very gracious to us. They allow us to store fabric in their basement.
Lots of it.
Yeah, lots of it.
Lots
But
of it.
we do a huge amount of charity quilts for, well, we have a group called Cover Our Kids and more, because we make quilts for children. They go to hospitals, they go to nursing homes, they go to wherever there is a need. And we've done, over 400?
It was over 400 last year.
Last year, yeah.
And there can be small, because some places want it. And we did have a request for bigger quilts, single, almost double-size quilts.
We got kids, the kids grow up.
Yeah.
And they need them as well. And then we also do quilts for honor flights. One of our quilters is very involved with honor flights, and they've got a group coming up in March. She said she has
50 quilts.
50 quilts for that, and then another group coming up in June, I think, is women.
It's all women.
There's a women's group coming up.
Who are going.
We've had a few residents go on the honor flight
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so, and it's really an honor to be able to do that for them.
Yeah, and if you don't find anything that fits what you want to do, tell somebody, get it in the newsletter, and see who responds to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I found paper piecing because of Tamara, and she would talk about it, and I said, see if I can get in that group. And it turns out the gal who leads it is the next group of condos over from mine.
But that group started out really on Zoom, didn't it? No, it started out fire departments, and then COVID hit.
I don't know how many are there.
Yeah.
But we Zoom. I've Zoomed with Linda and Jane 10 o'clock at night to midnight. Linda never turns off her Zoom account. And you just go, I'm on Zoom.
That's wonderful.
They won't be offended.
But we hope you can come to the show.
Isn't that neat, Cam?
If you really think you can come, we have half-price tickets
Busy day.
that we can give you. And then when you get to the quilt show, they would just charge you $5 to get in. So if you think you're coming, please camera's got them somewhere.
And we don't, we have the little sliding things so that if you don't have cash, you can use your card.
Do you ever figure out
I
how
hope
many
to
hours
see
a day you quilt?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you ever figure out how many hours a day you quilt?
No, you don't want to know. To me, I had quit when I kind of, not first started, but when I would hand quilt, because I really kind of learned to do that back in the 80s. I thought it was like giving birth to a baby, because you would spend all this time, you're touching it, you're talking to it, you know, you stick your finger, you got some blood on it, and when I got it done, it was sad, you know.
But putting a binding on it,
Yeah.
somebody said binding is the thing they hate, hate the most. And I said, you know, for me, it was time to say goodbye. And I could go around the quilt and see this that I did and that I did, and it becomes a friend, and it's like a good book, you know. You hate to give it up, but you have to. So there you go.
Yeah, and my houses, wherever they went to, I am machine quilting now. I'm not a machine quilter. So I know where every problem is, but when it goes to the quilt show and comes back home, I won't. It's like you forget. And it just becomes part of it, because nobody's perfect. And I'm learning, you can tell my top 2 houses have beige skies. And I thought, wait a minute, I got blue ties, and I can see a progression in my work. So, because I don't know if you noticed or saw, but on the bottom row, see, you get us talking.
You're telling your
This
secrets.
bottom row, if you look at these 2, the orange one is a quilt shop. I used to have a business, which I'm not a business person, and it was called So Happy Threads. And this one, I found a McDonald's ties, so I made it a Mickey D's restaurant. And it's just...
You find inspiration everywhere.
Yeah, and these are men's ties. My latest, the last one I just put on maybe a month ago was this one. And just, you know, I can't look at a tie without going, what can I
So the
do
moral of
with
the
it?
story is come to our show and
Yes.
you will see everything. You will see quilts that are beginners. You will see small quilts. You'll see big quilts. You'll see award-winning quilts. And I mean, with them all.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Nice